If you're here watching this video, that means you want the secret sauce on how to build the best free-to-play account possible. So today, I'm going to be teaching you how to properly summon on banners so that we can obtain the most amount of characters possible without having to reach for that credit card and spend all of your hard-earned money. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Here's the thing, guys. When you're starting out in Wuthering Waves, getting asteroids is going to be more frequent because you haven't unlocked anything and you are just starting out in the game. As you make progress in the game, you will hit a roadblock when it comes to how much asteroids you can receive between patches. If you're new and you have no idea how the gacha currency works in this game, let me explain. Your main gacha currency is going to be called asteroids. You need a total of 160 asteroids for a singular pull. Now you have two different options when summoning on any given banner, and in those two options, you can either do a singular summon, which is 160 asteroids, or you could do what is called a 10 pull summon, which equals out to 1600 asteroids. Now it's important to know that in the limited banner, there are 50/50s, which essentially means when you are pulling for a limited character for the first time, essentially it will take up to 80 summons to obtain that 5-star character. However, due to RNG purposes and making this game more addicting to pull on banners, it could take up to a max of 160 summons in order to even obtain the 5-star character you are aiming for. I'm just gonna do a quick summary on how every single banner works so that way you know what you're getting into when you start pulling on these banners. So starting off with the limited time banner, as I just finished mentioning, there is a 50/50 implemented system in Wuthering Waves. So the way this works is exactly how I explained it before. You get a total of up to 160 summons to obtain that 5-star character. If you lose your 50/50, essentially what will happen is the 5-star character that shows up will be somebody from the standard banner. The amount of summons that you use and when you lose a 50/50 does carry over in between patches, which means, for example, if I lost a 50/50 on my favorite character Carlotta and Liane was the next character that's coming out on the 5-star character banner, then if I went to go pull for Liane or any other character that's coming out that I want to pull for, that character will be 100% guaranteed. So with this information, we can now formulate a plan on how to pull for characters when it comes to losing a 50/50. As a free-to-play player, you want to think ahead when it comes to 50/50 losses. For example, say if I wanted to pull for Camellia to finish my Havoc team. If I lose my 50/50 on Camellia, then maybe I should start saving my asteroids to start thinking of a second character that I want to pull on, maybe in a later patch. And instead of Camellia, maybe I could field Havoc Rover, who is a free 5-star character instead. And then later down the line, I can go ahead and pull Camellia when she gets her rerun. Or maybe down the line, there'll be another character to replace the Camellia that I once wanted. Essentially, the mindset that you are trying to build here as a free-to-play player is to essentially get in the mindset of being okay with losing 50/50s. Now, the reason why you need to be like this is because you're going to have to prioritize game plan over trying to get the characters that you always want. Now, the good news is when we move on to the limited banner, the only thing you really need to know is that it'll only take up to 80 summons to get any weapon that you want. So essentially, any Resonator's limited time weapon that you want is going to always be 100% guaranteed, so you do not have to worry about the gacha guys completely betraying you when pulling on the weapon banner. Now, when it comes to the standard banner, it's going to be a total of up to 80 summons to obtain that 5-star character. There is no 50/50 implemented because it would kind of make no sense if you could 50/50 loss into a limited banner character, but that'd be kind of crazy, right? And then you have the standard weapon banner selector, which you can select a weapon that you want to get out of 80 pulls. And some players will argue that it's actually wasteful to pull on this banner and you should just pull on the standard banner so you can get copies of Arena or any other character that you want. Now, when it comes to the flip side of things, you can follow a really good asteroid guide like the two that I have up on my YouTube channel of the best asteroid farming guide coming into this game. However, then beckons the question if that asteroid guide is actually really good long term. Now, while the asteroid guides may help you solve specific areas where you're not obtaining certain asteroids or may help you out in the beginning when you don't really have that much unlocked, it becomes a guide that you can't really rely on because a lot of the stuff is not really stuff that you can re-farm. If you happen to be a veteran player that's watching this video, then you out of all players understand that you can only farm a really good amount of asteroids in between patches when new events and new content releases like more open world extensions. Despite the fact that Kuro Games is a very generous studio, there is only so much that they can do for the free to play and minimal spenders because a lot of the asteroids that you farm is only a one-time thing, and in between patches is going to be the best time to farm for you veteran players or players who have reached the end game and are more long-term. So as a beginner player coming into this game in 2026, or if you're coming and visiting this video in the future, the one thing to take note of is that there is no possible way for you to obtain every single character in the game. You would have to be one of the most luckiest players in the world, and then at that point you should be playing the lottery and making millions so that we can get any character that you want. It is a very hard pill to swallow, but as a minimal spender or a free-to-play player, then you have to understand this. You are going to need to strategize your pulls and making the best account account possible with those minimal pulls and minimal gacha currency that you will be able to receive. And you learn this through a couple key systems, but the first one I want to talk about is pull priority. Now, if you don't know what pull priority is, it's essentially when you have two characters on a banner and one of the characters is getting a rerun, which means that character is a priority pull. Lene is a new character that's coming out in Wuthering Waves 3.0. Now, when it comes to Lene, it's going to be her first release coming up, which means she's not really a pull priority and you could skip her knowing that she will be coming back in a rerun shortly after. However, if a rerun is run against her, let's take maybe Cardathea for example. Cardathea has already been released in the past in 2.x. So if you are a player that missed out on Cardathea because maybe say you lost your 50-50 like I mentioned before in this video, then you might want to focus on pulling Cardathea if you still wanted to get her in your account and she's still in your cards. I tried explaining that in the most simple way possible. If you're still confused about that, then you could ask in the comment section down below. But essentially, to dumb it down for you, rerun character equals pull priority. You just gotta decide if that priority is for you, while new character isn't really pull priority because they will get your rerun shortly. Now that you understand this concept, I want to talk about two very important characters that I think you should pick up at the start of your journey if you are a beginner player. Now, these two specific characters I talk about in a lot of my videos. I literally yap about these two characters so much. If you haven't guessed already, I'm going to be talking about Verena and Shorekeeper, the two most valuable picks that you can have on your account across the board. When I tell you there is no debate on the two most valuable characters in the entire game, I bring up Shorekeeper and Verena because of their versatility and what they provide and bring to the table when it comes to them as characters. They both bring attack amplification buffs that you cannot ignore, Verena bringing normal attack buffs and heals, while Shorekeeper bringing the insane crit rate and crit damage buffs as well as heals too. Now, for the end game content, it is really good to have two support characters, especially in contents like Tower of Adversity and the Hologram. And of course, when it comes to you guys who are going to be minimal spenders or free-to-play players, you want to focus on getting the flashier characters like the DPS characters or maybe the hybrid support batteries. So besides all the account benefits that Verena and Shorekeeper bring to the table, I want you to also think about how much more room you have to work with when summoning for characters when you get the support characters out of the way first. However, I won't chew your ear off about this any longer. I just wanted you to know that this is an option available to you, especially if you are starting. And I will always say that you should always pull who you want to pull for, but I just thought it was a great idea to acknowledge the fact that having two of the greatest support characters give you more freedom to pull for who you want to pull for. Now, the biggest challenge all of you players are going to run into is the fact of actually saving the asteroids and the gacha currency. So first off, whenever you accumulate 160 asteroids, which is enough for one singular pull, a very bad habit to do is to always summon when you have the exact amount to summon one singular summon. You should be saving up in between patches with a clear goal and a clear mindset on who you're going to be summoning for before you even farm for that character, and then taking all those asteroids when the update hits, when that character that you want releases, and trying to go for that character. And then another very hard thing to do is when you lose a 50-50, 9 times out of 10 you should be giving up and then farming for the next very best character that you want with your guaranteed summon, which is exactly what I was mentioning at the beginning of this video when talking about Camellia. To recap, if I wanted to get Camellia to finish my Havoc team and I were to lose my 50-50, I would then in that cycle give up on pulling for Camellia and use my guaranteed 5-star summon on the limited banner towards a character that's going to better my account overall. And then when Camellia gets her rerun, I will revisit the option of summoning for her again, depending on what has changed since her last release. And yes, once Camellia releases again, she would then be the priority summon. Which brings me to my last piece of advice in this video, and that is please utilize Rover. And what I mean by utilize Rover is you should be looking at Rover as an option to fit into any of your team compositions, and I think you should be leveling up and maxing out Rover because they are the most versatile character in the game, aside from the support character Shorekeeper and Verena. Now you may be thinking, how is Rover one of the most versatile characters in the game? Well, let's take a look at the elements for example. Every few or so patches, Rover gains a new element, which means Rover gains a whole nother kit that you could work with and implement into team compositions. For example, Havoc Rover, Arrow Rover, and Spectral Rover all have different team compositions and different uses because Havoc Rover, Spectral Rover, and Arrow Rover all differ from each other. Meaning in the future when more elements come out, Rover is going to have more versatility as time goes on. Me personally, before even Carlotta came out, and Carlotta was my favorite character, when I was playing at 1.x, Camellia ended up becoming my favorite character in the game. Due to personality and the way Camellia was built when we first met her, I had a feeling she was going to be a Havoc character. So in the meantime, while waiting for Camellia to release, I utilized Havoc Rover as a placeholder for Camellia. And honestly, even till this day, Havoc Rover is still one of the greatest picks when it comes to a DPS character, especially for starters. And this is one of many examples examples I could give you, but hopefully you got a rough idea of what you can do when it comes to placeholder resonators. There is a bunch of 4-star options that are out there that can be used as placeholders or even permanent options for the time being while you are waiting for other characters to come out. Wuthering Waves is one of those games that will really forgive you if you do get the combat down and the team utilization down properly. And that statement is so true that you can even clear most of the game's content with just the starting characters. Well, that is all I have for today's video. If you guys did learn something, please comment in the comment section down below, and please ask questions if you are confused. Smash that subscribe button so you never miss a video, and also press that like button for me. My name is Mikey, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.